welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Thursday, August 17th. We are here live. It is a free-for-all this morning. I've only got an hour. We'll head on into Rolling Toe at, let me check, 9 a.m. So we've got 1 hour. I'm not going to do a long open. I've got a couple things I can talk about, but I want to leave plenty of time for your questions. So line them up, 855-950-3835. It is a free-for-all. If you've got a question, a comment, a topic, anything goes. You can talk about anything you want. Just pick up the phone and join me. Couple of things. One, I guess I'll start with this. I saw an article. I think we mentioned this a couple weeks ago. It came up where I saw a couple of headlines, and then I didn't see much more about it. I thought it was kind of odd the first time I saw it. Then I see this headline yesterday: truckers boycott in Florida due to passage of Senate Bill 1718. This company supposedly did a survey, and these are the numbers they came up with. It claims that 71% of truckers and 58% of other transportation employees support boycotting Florida. Wow, really? 58% of anybody in transportation? Nobody asked me. 71% of drivers? I'm a little shocked by those numbers. Did we really do a good, accurate, scientific survey here? 71%? I don't think so. Like I said, I haven't seen much about this. I've kind of noticed some headlines and some talk here and there over the last month or so, but virtually nothing on social media that I've seen. I haven't seen any real group that is pushing this one. Maybe I missed it, but I'm pretty active. I would have thought I would have seen it somewhere. I don't even know what this bill was about. And this article doesn't really talk about it. I guess I'd have to go find that bill. They talk about supply. 3 in 5 transportation employees are concerned about possible supply chain disruptions due to the boycott. Really? 3 in 5 people working in transportation are worried that this Florida boycott is going to cause supply chain disruptions? Did I miss something? Is this a much bigger story than I thought it is, or thought it was, or is? Because I can't imagine 3 in 5 people who work in trucking thinking that way. Since the 1970s, I haven't seen a trucking boycott disrupt much of anything. That's kind of my problem with them. They sometimes they get a lot of press, and it's usually bad press, and then they don't accomplish anything. This one just seems a little odd the way they're reporting on this one. If you have any comments on that or anything else, pick up the phone. Call me, 855-950-3835. I've got a life lesson from wing foiling again. My hobbies keep giving me life lessons. I'm trying to remember the name of a book right now because this thought just came to me as I was doing my open. I don't remember. I just can't think of the name of this book. I remember the concept. I can't remember. I think it was 2 authors, but I can't remember the authors' names either. And I can't really talk and search at the same time. So somebody call me so you can talk and I can go look for this book. The concept behind the book was a really good one. And I haven't seen many books written on this topic. It's about when you want to improve something or change something, your life, your money, your health, whatever it might be, this idea of making tiny little changes over and over and over and over to improve something instead of trying to make a bunch of big changes or one big change. Or it's this idea of doing little things over and over and over that move you towards your goal. I still can't think of the book. But here was the lesson. So I know I'm kind of obsessed with this wing foiling, but it's making me a little crazy. I'm pretty good at learning things. I've said before, I've ridden just about everything on the water you can ride. I've been doing it most of my life. I really thought I was going to pick this up in a day or two. I'm probably on day 6 or 7 now. And most days when I go out, I spend 2 or 3 hours trying. Yesterday, I spent 3.5 again. And I'm pretty beat up again today. But I'm frustrated with this. It's attempt over and over and over. I said yesterday, if I could get a boat, I'd probably get this in 2 hours because you would get to do it, attempt it consistently over and over and over. I mean, the way this works right now in what we call Beginner's Bay is I've got to drag my wing and my board through I have to walk about 100 yards through the water to get to the starting point that gives me the most room to attempt this. And yesterday what was happening was my first attempt was right in a really nice wind spot. And on my first attempt, I was getting up on the foil almost every time, but then just crashing. I mean, I got to figure out how to stay up on the foil. I can get up on the foil now. I have to learn how to stay on it. So then my second attempt, based on where I would make it to, was kind of a little behind this island, and it was changing the wind, and I wasn't able to get up on the foil through that stretch. Then the next stretch, I was able to get up on the foil, but the wind got really erratic right there. It kept changing directions. And then I'd have to try to come back the other direction, which I'm not very good at yet. And that would take me a while, and it kind of tires me out. And then I'd probably still have to walk another 50 yards to get back to that spot. So you don't get a lot of good, consistent attempts. You're always kind of working to get back into position. That's the whole problem with this. You know, if I have a boat, the boat goes wherever you want it to go. With wind, the wind's blowing, and until you learn how to do this, you just keep getting blown downwind. But what I started thinking about is, how do we learn these things? Let me see if I can explain this. So before I attempted this, I watched videos, and I got a lot of good tips on, how to hold your wing, where to put your feet, different ways to attempt starting this. The videos and the instructions always get to this point where, okay, you know how to hold the wing, you're standing on the board, you're fairly steady, and now you have to learn how to ride the foil. And there's very little instruction at this point. And the videos say the same thing. I listen to the instructors that are out there helping people. They say the same thing. It's just time now. You just have to keep trying. It's like you can't explain to somebody what you do to stand and ride this foil. I've used this analogy in the past, and it's really the same concept. I've said that I can tell somebody how to ride a unicycle. And by the way, this foil is a lot like the unicycle. I realize that too. So in a lot of things you ride in the water, like a ski or a wakeboard, they go pretty straight. Your balance is only really kind of front and back. The side balance isn't all that critical. On this thing, the balance in every direction seems to be so critical. Just a little off and you crash. And I've said on the unicycle, I can tell you how I do this, but you will not be able to get on it and do it. And I can't tell you what you're doing wrong. Now, sometimes you can, and I've seen some instructors out here telling people, yeah, you're leaning a little too far to the left, try to get more centered on the board. Trying to figure out, how does my brain even figure this out? Because I don't know what I did to stay on the foil longer than the other time. It's like your body's learning something, but I don't understand what or how it's learning. Like, there's so many things going on here. Okay, if the wind blows that way, you've got to turn this shoulder this way, put a little more weight on that. You couldn't possibly explain what is happening right then. And it's happening so fast, and then you're constantly reacting. And somehow, just by doing it over and over and over, we learn it, but I can't even explain how we're learning that. Does that make any sense? What I keep hoping for, and I finally realized it's not going to happen. I keep hoping for some sort of big breakthrough, and then I'm going to be doing this. But there is no big breakthrough. You get a little better each time you try it, just a little bit. And sometimes you can't even tell that you're getting better. I don't know what I learned yesterday, but somehow I can ride the foil just a little bit better than I could the day before. But I don't know why. I can't explain what I did different. Somehow our body learns this. Just seems, if I could figure out how I was learning it, maybe I could speed up the process. But there doesn't seem to be any shortcut to this other than if I went and got a boat, because then it would be that consistency. You'd just be able to do it over and over and over and over and learn something. But with this, I think you can tell I'm a little frustrated. I usually don't have this much trouble learning. Somebody asked yesterday, what was the age? Was I the oldest person out there? I don't know why they assumed I would be the oldest. I guess I am getting old, but no, I'm not the oldest. I see, I am old, but I see people older than I am out there, and they're out there, they're learning, and I see some people that are out there, and they're pretty darn good at it already. So one of the things they actually promote this as, it is easier for people of all ages than kiteboarding, because dealing with the kite can be difficult. But what they didn't really talk about was the fact that the only way you can use a wing is with a foil. You can't really use a wing with the regular wakeboard. If you could do that, I'd be all over the place, because I can ride a wakeboard. But the wing, the kite produces enough power to pull a wakeboard. The wing doesn't. The reason the foil works is because there's so much less resistance once you get up on the foil. The wing provides plenty of power, but it wouldn't if you were just trying to do a board. You would just be dragging around in the water, and you can't go very fast, and you'd be tired. And so the whole trick here really is the foil, and nobody has any experience on a foil. So that's what everybody's learning, but it's just so darn touchy, it seems like. And again, there's just so many variables when you try this. You just got to keep doing it over and over and over. So I am committed. So with that, I think I'm going to hit the water again today. I'm going to check the forecast. Pretty dead right now. If there's any chance we're going to have any wind, I'm going to head out today. So I am only doing an hour. So if you've got a question, you want to get in here pretty quickly. Rolling Toe will be up after that, and then I will not be coming back for a space today. I won't be coming back for a space tomorrow either, but unfortunately, I don't get to go out on the river tomorrow. We have another project we have to work on. I'm not really going to talk about it yet. It does have something to do with work, but I'm not sure how we're announcing this or if we are talking about it. So we'll see. But no spaces this week. I'll do an hour today and then just an hour again tomorrow. So there won't be any trucking technology and efficiency this week either. We can just do an hour and then I've got to get out of here. So that's the schedule for the week. I'm going to get to the phones, jump in and join me. Let's get started in New York. Kim, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. Damn boomers need to just stay off the little kids' sports.
Oh, hey, that's what I was going to talk about.
Go back to barefoot water. Go back to barefoot water skiing. Oh, hey, maybe you need a drone to pull you around.
Oh, well, that's what I'm going to talk about. So I talked about, I've seen some old people out there on the water, older than I am, and they're going at it. It's kind of physical when you're trying to learn. It's just walking out through the water with all the equipment wears you out, then trying to climb up on your board and then crashing and getting back and climb. So I'm pretty beat up and I'm pretty tired. Once you get this, it's not that physical of a sport. There's not a lot of drag. So it's actually kind of a nice, easy, mellow, you're not going to really exert yourself. So it is good for people of all ages. But on the other end of the spectrum yesterday, I saw a little kid, I don't know, maybe 6. I'm thinking maybe he weighed all of 40 pounds. And they make an electric foil. So it's the board with a foil and an electric motor. And you've got a wireless remote you hold in your hand, and you just stand on this thing and zoom around on the water. No wing, no nothing. It looks really cool, but I went and looked. The one I found was like $7,000. So I think I'll figure out how to use my wing. But what I saw yesterday was this little boy, like I said, he's about 40 pounds. He's on his own little board, and he's got his wing, tiny little wing, and his dad has one of these electric foils. So his dad tows him out to the perfect spot of the wind and then lets him go, and the kid's practicing, and the dad just kind of follows him along on this electric foil. And then when they get, you just keep getting blown downwind is what happens till you figure this out. But it's almost like having a boat for him because his dad just keeps towing him back to the perfect spot. That kid will be up and doing that. He was looking pretty darn good yesterday. He wasn't really getting up on the foil, but he was riding the board just fine.
Nice. Hey, are you left-handed, by the way?
No. Why?
Okay. Because I'm left-handed, and back in high school, I had a real hard time with wrestling, learning new moves. So everything, to me, looked backwards.
Yeah, I'll bet.
So being left-handed, I focus things differently that way.
That could be one of the issues here, and I've talked about this in every other water skiing kind of sport, whether it was slalom skiing, wakeboarding. You have boots, secure boots you put your feet in, and you always ride the same way, the same foot back, whether it's what they call traditional or then it's called goofy foot if you do the opposite of whatever. And I was goofy foot. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with your hand coordination. It's more of, I think, what you just started with. Whatever you happen to put that ski on the first time, that's probably what you're going to stick with. So for me, I was always right foot back slalom skiing and wakeboarding. Now, the problem here is you can do that going in one direction across the water, but when you want to turn around and come back in the other direction, you really have to shift your feet. And you got to kind of do this on the fly, and you don't have boots. That's weird too. But I am so uncoordinated coming back the other direction. When I have to switch my feet, I can't even call myself a beginner at that yet. I mean, I can barely stand on the board for some reason. I don't know what, and it's just like trying to do something with your weak hand. Like if you're right-handed, trying to do something left-handed. That's what this feels like. I feel so uncoordinated and awkward.
Well, hey, the reason why I call is because I've been experimenting with, it's called pemmican.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And it's just basically 3 ingredients. Berries, dehydrated meat, ground up into fine powder, and then add fat.
A lot of fat.
So I started with, a lot of fat. I started with...
Real quick, the traditional pemmican doesn't have to have berries. So some traditional pemmican is just meat and fat. Doesn't even have the berries.
Yep. I used liver, different cuts of meat. The less fatty, the better. And I added a little brain octane too this last batch.
Yeah.
I have too much energy to sit in the seat.
I'll bet. Now, if somebody wants to try pemmican, but they don't want to go through the hassle of learning how to make it, U.S. Wellness Meat sells pemmican.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and I think
the reason why I started experimenting with it is...
they've got a traditional that's just meat and fat, and then I think they have one with cherries.
Oh, okay. See, cherry was the hardest thing for me to dehydrate. The cherry never seemed to want to dehydrate. Even after 48 hours, it was still a little mushy.
Yeah, sometimes berries can be really tough.
We even made some of the, what do we call that? It's like a fruit roll-up. It's like a mush.
Fruit leather?
Then you just dry it out. Yeah, leather. Tried doing the leather and then dried that out so it was crispy and then ground it up. That worked okay.
Okay.
But the reason is because we're going to go backpacking and we were looking for, I called a couple months ago about looking for some of these freeze dried foods.
Right.
Well, I thought maybe I would look into buying a freeze dryer, $6,000-$7,000 for just a small one. Crazy.
Have they got?
So
Which
nix
company
that.
were you looking at? I thought the big company that makes them, the smaller one, was more like 3,000. Have they gone up that much? Harvest, right?
I'm not
Isn't
sure.
that the name of the company?
I'm not sure what it's called. I just looked on the Google search there, and those were the ones that were coming in it.
I've looked at it, and it was a couple of years ago. I don't know if inflation has hit it that hard or not, but I couldn't justify it really because I don't like the consistency of most food after it's been freeze-dried. I just don't. The one exception is fruit, but I mean, how much dehydrated or freeze-dried fruit am I going to eat? Not that much. So, and you can buy it. I could buy an awful lot of it without going to buy the machine. So, as much as I love that kind of stuff, and I have all kinds of cooking devices and dehydrators and sous vide, and I've got a ton of that kind of stuff, I just couldn't see the freeze dryer. Just didn't make sense to me.
Yep. Oh, this is great. Once you're using the pemmican, and I have my morning NDK coffee, Dr. Jack's coffee, cardiology coffee. Have that and pemmican around lunchtime. Just a small square, like a brownie size.
Oh, it doesn't take much.
It looks like brownies, meat brownies.
Yeah.
And that'll get me all the way through the next day.
Yeah.
And I'm not even hungry, so I'm eating.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, I will warn people, if you have gallbladder issues, you be very careful. This is super high fat. This is probably, I think it's more than 50% fat. It's really high.
It's half and half.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty close to that, yeah. So this is actually a Native American food is where this came from. The American Indians, and several different tribes, pemmican was kind of a staple for them when they traveled because it travels so well. That much fat preserves the meat. So pemmican, now if you buy it from U.S. Wellness, they ship it cold, but we had, when we had John, the owner, on, he eats pemmican every day, says he has for like decades, I think. And he'll tell you, he says, I leave that stuff out for weeks or months. He said, we can't say that technically, but it's shelf stable.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of why I was experimenting with different fats. The best one that we seem to be is the fats that are around the organ meats, because those are the hardest.
Yeah,
hard as far as firmness.
So
so when I'm out on the trail and I don't have refrigeration, when I'm just walking around, the hardest fat stays more like a granola bar. It doesn't melt away. If I use bacon fat, it turns to
it just melts.
Yeah,
right. Have you tried something called leaf lard?
Yes.
Okay.
That was one of the first ones that we tried. That's the pork.
Right.
What seems to work better is the beef tallow. The duck fat works good, and
I love duck
lamb
fat.
tallow works really good.
Yeah, duck fat's one of my favorites. Leaf lard is specifically the fat from around the organs.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
U.S. Wellness has it.
They do. It's interesting. I mean, I like fat, so this wasn't a problem for me when I tried it. But for a lot of people, this is a pretty weird kind of food.
Yeah. Well, it's a great way to get the organ meats, like liver and some other things. Just dehydrate it, and there it is. Yeah,
you're right. And it's such concentrated energy. Like you said, you're not eating a big piece. You can't eat a big piece of this. It doesn't take much. Oh, we just lost that call. Huh. Just dropped right out of nowhere. All right, well, we will move along. Let's go to Maryland. Jeremy, welcome.
Hi.
What's on your mind today?
Story. The things you mentioned. I got a little story. When I was, 12, 13, or a friend of mine, and the first summer, we tape up our BMX bikes and take our surfboards like at 5 a.m. and just learn every day. Try to learn. Just simply no directions. Just trying to learn, and eventually, yeah, we had it. And that was. I look back on it and go, it's pretty.
So you know what I mean then. You try, you fall, you try, you fall, you try, you get a little further, you fall. You keep, but what are what are we learning? I know, you can't explain what you're learning. I can't. It's just the more I do it, I get a little better and a little better and a little better, but I can't really explain what I'm doing different.
I mean, now I probably would have more things to say about it, explaining it. But back then, I was probably too stoned to, even use my brain. But
I'm not sure if you would be able to explain it. I mean, I'm thinking about what did I learn yesterday? I was better at the end of the day yesterday than I was the day before. But what was I better at? What was I doing different? And I don't know that I can explain it.
Like you said, man, just time. That's what I was kind of getting at. I just was blind, and we just did it every day until your body just adapts to it. I guess is what I was.
Right, that's what I mean.
Was saying,
you learn it, but you don't really know how, and you can't explain it to anybody else.
And then you talked about, it feels like you're doing the opposite hand. Then I thought, well, maybe you should try Goofy Foot or something, maybe. But you probably already have tried that.
Well, no. Here's the thing: there are
going the other way.
There are no boots, so you can put your feet anywhere you want on this board, and that's kind of the thing. You move around on this board. That's a whole new thing for me.
Wow.
But
yeah,
your wing always has to be downwind from your body. So the way you do this, whether you're on a river or the ocean, if you're on the ocean, you tend to just go back and forth across the beach, parallel to the beach, because you don't want to go straight out, because then you got to fight to get back in. So on a river, I don't want to go up or down river, because then how am I going to get out and get back to where my car is and all that? So you tend to stay right in that. You want to stay right in that spot in the river, so you can just get back out where you got in. So you go across the river, and then you come back, and you go across and come back, and you can go up and down, but for the most part, you go back and forth. So if I'm going north towards Washington from my shore, then I have to have my right foot back and my left foot is forward, and I'm holding my wing downwind. Well, when I want to turn around, think about it. If all I do is turn the board and the wing, now my wing is upwind, and it's just going to get blown at me. You can't do it that way. The wing doesn't even work. So as you're making that turn to come back the other direction, you've got to shift your feet and get the wing over to the other side. And now you have to ride with your other foot back. Now, when you get better, there is a way to hold the wing across your body so you wouldn't shift your feet, but that's not a really good way to ride. I mean, there's some turns you do where you do that first, then you shift your feet. But for the most part, you have got to learn how to ride this board with either foot back and always keeping that wing downwind. And it just doesn't seem like it should be that difficult. All I did was I'm just looking in a different direction, kind of. And my feet are opposite, but I don't know why it's so damn awkward.
Yeah. I was, when you mentioned those books, I was, I thought of that book, the War of Art.
No, and, that's not it.
Okay. For some reason, I got out of that book was how to embrace resistance. When I try to remember it, I mean, it was okay.
That is the book that uses that term resistance, and the idea being that when you're trying to do something big and important, that the resistance will fight back. There's something about the bigger the project, the more important whatever it is you're trying to do. It's almost like the world aligns against you and tries to stop you from doing it. That's this resistance he talks about. And it's, for him, it was writing. but you can apply this to almost anything. For me, let's just use this concept for this wing foiling thing. So yesterday it was going to be high 90 degrees and the wind wasn't supposed to be that great. So it would have been easy for me to say, and I was doing this. I was waiting for those perfect days. And finally I told the story. Lisa said, why don't you just go? And that's kind of the thing. There's always some reason I shouldn't go today. There's always something that kind of stands in our way, whether it's your spouse that, doesn't like whatever it is you're working on right now, or they think it's taking too much time, or, your car breaks down on the day you're supposed to have the most important meeting for this thing. It's this idea of when you're trying to accomplish something, there's this resistance that will try to stop you. And how do you keep working through that resistance? And really, about the only way is Lisa summed it up in one sentence. Why don't you just go? Why don't you just do it? Just do it. Stop all the, trying to make everything perfect and stop waiting for the perfect wind and day and just go, because that's the only way you can learn these things is to just keep trying.
Yeah, maybe even go at different hours of the day, like change that up, maybe like on the weekend or something like or 5 a.m. or something, I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. When I used to water ski, 5 a.m. was my time. You know why? Zero wind. It's as calm as can be. Right. So that's the challenging part with this. You're really limited in a lot of ways. I'm limited on wind. If it's not there, it's not there. There's nothing I can do about that. If it's gusty, I can't really change that, but gusty winds make this really difficult to learn. Everybody I talked to said, a boat would be the best way. The second best way would be go out to the ocean because the winds are steady and consistent. And in the gorge, they're not. They're volatile and gusty and they change, and that's why people love it. When you get good, those difficult conditions are more fun, but they're also harder to learn. And then there's that, like I said, that if I could try 15 attempts in an hour, I would probably get it. But, I go out for 3.5, 4 hours, and I might not get 15 attempts some days.
Yeah, that's like California waves. They're just right. You might get a wave every Yeah,
it's the same way. You just have to wait until you get a good enough wave to try. And if we know it's going to take us 500 attempts to figure this out, well, I just want to do those 500 attempts as quick as I can. But you can't.
Yeah, I still haven't YouTube didn't just even look that up. I'm going to do that. The article you mentioned, I had a father-in-law. I have a father-in-law. He's always trying to convince me that half our country were racist, and there's Texas and Florida have got the worst human laws and anti-racist and just everything negative, everything negative about it, so. I figured just this bunch of phony news out there and feeding them, and he just jumps all over it.
And this one just makes me a little crazy. Those are some of the worst numbers I've seen for statistics. What did they do? Interview 10 people who were standing around with signs saying they wanted to protest? I mean, they didn't do a real survey that is very meaningful here, not with those kind of numbers.
And like I started noticing the sources he's been, kind of when he does send me something, I've never heard of these sources, and who knows? It's like the Inquirer or something. I don't know.
Well, it's crazy where we are now. We have access to unbelievable amounts of information right in our pocket. I mean, it's right there. You can look up anything you want on your phone. We have access to all this information, and the problem now is we don't know what's right.
I know.
And how can you know?
And the ones that control
how can we know? I can only do so much research. I mean, this story, for example. Well, I'm going to talk about this story, and I'm going to tell you I think these numbers are completely bogus. But am I going to take the time to go try to figure out who they? Oh, hell no! I don't have time to go.
Right.
And when all these issues come up, even if it's on mainstream media, you absolutely can't trust it. We know they lie and manipulate. That's been proven. We know that social media, in many cases, is still being heavily censored and manipulated. So how do you know what is real anymore? And now we have fake videos. It was one thing when you looked at a picture and you would say, oh, well, they could have photoshopped that. They could make a picture look like anything. Well, now they can make videos look like anything. They can make a video of you saying things that you never said.
Wow.
That's what
they
AI.
feed the fire
AI can make these deep fake videos now. So how do we know anything, whether it's true or not? People send me a lot of videos, and I talk all the time about this. I very, very seldom ever watch videos. They're too time consuming. Give me the transcript and let me read it instead. I can get through it much faster. And people keep sending me videos, and they'll even start off saying, I know you don't watch videos, but you have to watch this one. They talk about this. And, well, wait a minute. It doesn't matter what they talk about. How do I know that it's real? Well, they have all the proof. Well, what proof? How do I know their proof is real?
Yeah.
So that's another thing, these big conspiracy theory kind of, the Great Reset, it's all the Fed. I've read the books. I've tried to get my head around this. I can't, and I don't want to read these books anymore. I don't want to watch these videos because they make me crazy, and how can I ever prove that they are actually real or not? And they'll say, but they have proof. Well, right, but their proof is just somebody else saying that it's real.
How about the new one, Dark Future?
Which one? What's that?
Glenn Beck, Dark Future. It's like basically the result of now what will happen after.
Right.
They get, more control.
I won't read that kind of stuff.
AI's in there and all that, Well, AI's in there and all this stuff. It's kind of like current events, seems like.
And I'm not disputing that it isn't true. That's not my point. I can't dispute it and say it's not true, just like I can't say it is true. That's my problem. It's almost like we're at the point where you have to follow some thought process or ideology now just on faith alone. Well, wait a minute. I don't have any faith in any of these people or groups or organizations. Even if I trust somebody, how do I know that their information is real and correct? I mean, it's why almost everything we do around here, we just base everything on results.
Right. Yeah, he's like a watchdog or kind of thing. He keeps just something to look out for, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, I gotta move along. I gotta watch my phone lines here. Make sure I get through these calls, and I'm gonna try not to hold up the Beckett's today. So let's get to it. Joe, what's on your mind today?
Oh, hey, Kevin. Really cool phone call you had the other day with that pilot, helicopter guy.
Oh yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that was really one of my little pet peeves when I had my own truck. I don't have it now, but green versus red. Red came out, everybody said, don't use that because it's got too much acid in it. And green's a pain in the backside because you have to keep checking it for the pill and the filter. And I fought. I even had a dealer mix them, red and green.
Oh, that's a bad idea.
Oh no! Some people just don't care. They just don't want to.
Now let's address that for a second. There was always this thought that you can't mix oils, especially synthetic and conventional. That's absolutely not true in oil. Any oil with the proper API classification can be mixed with any other oil, and they will work just fine. That there is never a problem mixing oils that have the proper API classification. Coolant is not true. That is not a true statement for coolant. I'm sure there are some coolants that will mix okay, but I wouldn't even attempt it. Just stay away from it because you can cause some pretty goofy issues mixing some of these. And I know there are people right now going, oh, I've mixed them before, nothing happened. That might be. I just said some of them will mix fine, but some of them won't.
Well, it'd be nice if they had a warning on the label, huh?
Yeah, there's nothing on the. I was this last time when I blew a radiator line on my coach, and I had to fix it on the side of the road, and then I had to walk to the parts store and get coolant. There was a universal coolant. Now that was interesting. That one does claim that you can mix that one with anything. That was the first time I had seen that.
Is there actual acid? The complaint about the red was there's acid in there and it tear up your motor.
No, that's not
true. All the green guys said, hey, don't.
There's acids in everything, but not all acid is corrosive the way we think of it. I mean, what is brain octane? Fatty acids. So just because this word acid is in the name doesn't mean that it's like battery acid and it's corrosive. There's lots of different organic acids. So yes, there are organic acids in the red coolant. They're there for a reason. They belong there. They don't hurt anything. My God, what are these people thinking? There's a million trucks running around with this red coolant, and they have been for probably 30 years now. It doesn't tear up motors. You just have to make sure you're putting the right coolant in the right engine. There have been some cases where the wrong coolant attacks the seals sometimes, and sometimes they're rare. So you can, a lot of this doesn't get done right, and it still doesn't cause big problems most of the time. But to me, why anybody would stick with the old green coolant that needs to be recharged, and if it doesn't get recharged, it could wipe out a block. Cavitation is the issue we have when you don't have the additives in there. You can get cavitation, which is pitting of the block, and it will wipe out a block so it can't be rebuilt. So if you keep green in there and you keep the additives in it all the time, you'll be fine. But when there's a coolant that goes 700,000 miles without needing to add anything to it, why wouldn't I use that coolant?
I thought it was 500, but
no, it's 700,000.
Well, I see it in all the trucks now. Everybody seems to have gone to red.
Correct.
But,
that's my point.
Getting people to change from green to red was pretty rough.
Getting people to change much of anything can be rough. People don't like change.
Oh, well, that's all I was. I heard you talking to the guy, and you kind of went back and forth on the red and green. I just wondered what your opinion of that was.
Yeah,
I fought that for a long time out of a lot of shops. That, I forgot.
Yeah,
you ran a blank. You ran a pill. I didn't check. I'm sorry. Here, just a minute. Now you got red. We're going to forget about all that.
Exactly.
I said, well, I didn't ask for red. Well, you know what I mean? It's a shop fight. That's what it is. All of a sudden, next thing you know, it's a great mechanic, and now you're in a fight with him over stupid antifreeze.
I know. When I did the research on this was a long time ago. I mean, this goes back more than 10 years ago that I did this. It was when I found out there's only a couple factories in the United States that even make coolant. So all of these brands are all made in a couple factories and then labeled differently. And they do have different formulations, so I'm not saying they're all exactly the same, but they're made in the same place. That was one thing I learned. The other thing I learned was they did a survey of shop managers, so service managers. And over half of the service managers could not tell you what the proper coolant for each truck was. They didn't know.
Yeah, I remember you saying that a long time ago. Yeah, I remember you said that a long time ago. I'll never forget that one too. I said, well, that's one of my little because I got this great mechanic, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, his head's down, he's sweating because it's a lot of money. I said, here, I'll pay for it. It's not a big deal. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You know, I got it. Don't worry about it. I got this. And I don't know. I heard you talking to that pilot about that, and it kind of skipped over it. I didn't know. So I'll call you about it. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks for the call. And then the other thing that confused this was all the different colors. red was kind of the first extended life, long life, but then we started getting purple and blue and orange, and there were all kinds of weird colors. And were they different? The only thing I ever really learned was you have long life and not long life. Not long life is the green. It's always got to be recharged. I just tell people, stay away from that stuff. Why would you even want that anymore? But then there was some talk about, well, this long life isn't right for this engine. Your best bet, honestly, look in your manual. Look in your owner's manual. Don't ask the service manager. He probably doesn't know. Just look in your owner's manual. Let's go to Ohio. Herschel, welcome.
Hey, Kevin.
What's on your mind today?
Well, I was looking at the store. There is a Instinct 1, Instinct 2, Instinct 2 Truck Edition. Can you give me the quick Reader's Digest? Which one should I have? I'm thinking maybe I should have one because of everything that I'm working on and changing, but I don't know. I don't want to buy the dud, but I don't need the flamethrower to eat aliens either.
No, I'll give you the scoop here. So skip the 1. It's just the new generation has more features, better sensors, that kind of stuff. So just skip the 1. In the 2, the health features and everything on the watch are the same between the standard and the truck edition. The difference, the truck edition does include my workouts, but they're not all that critical. I mean, I wouldn't buy the watch just to get those workouts. I can tell you what they are. And you get the truck-specific features like your ELD on your watch and that kind of stuff. Your watch will tell you when your 30-minute break is due. And so if you want the truck-specific features, which are mostly around hours of service and ELD and that kind of stuff, then you would get the truck edition. But as far as the health features, they're really the same.
I really don't need the truck edition. I fight and talk to that stupid ELD tablet enough. I don't need another one.
That's kind of what I mean, right? You would just be getting that same stuff going on your arm instead of on the ELD tablet. So if you're not going to use that, then you probably, I can't think of, I wear the truck version just because that's the one they sent us when we were testing all this stuff, and I just kept it. So, and I obviously don't use any of that stuff. So it's not like it's in your way, but if you don't need it, then, that really is the difference. The big thing I'm using this watch for, a lot of the data is nice, sleep and all that, but sleep's just not very accurate. And I've talked about sleep. The HRV is the real key here. And I took mine off for a month and I said, I'm going to try to get my HRV score back up. Now, a lot of things have happened. I haven't done some things I need to be doing, but I really thought, based on what I was doing every day, that my HRV should have been improving. But I wasn't monitoring it. So I was kind of guessing, and I'm thinking, but over time, I'm not feeling better. I don't feel like I'm recovering. So I put my watch back on, and not only was my HRV not coming up, in the time I wasn't wearing it, dropped almost 10 points. I'm back down to the bottom again.
Wow. Okay. The other day, there was a guy, and I think he said his name was Mike, but I might have that wrong, that had been to Dr. Jack and did the 5 months worth of CellCore. He's done all that. Am I right? Is that Mike, I think?
The pilot, I think it is. Yeah, I think that was Mike talking about that. I do know Mike does go to Dr. Wolfson once a year. I think he has done it for a couple years now. He has, so I think it was him talking about it. Yeah.
I wonder if he's on the trucking tribe.
I don't remember if I see him in there or not.
I'd like to talk to him about his experience just because I'm doing what he did. I think it would be really interesting to talk to him if he was up for that, to discuss what to expect and what happens and all that.
He's a pretty regular listener. We can certainly put you in touch with him. I mean, that's not hard.
Yeah, if you can.
Okay.
If you can, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, here's what I'll do. Okay. I'm gonna put you back in the queue. We'll Well, honestly, I don't even know if I need to put you in the queue. We have your information. We have Mike's information. All we have to do is get you guys together. Angie, if you could, if Angie, if you don't know the Mike we're talking about, you probably don't. I'll get the information you need after. So just get Herschel's, I guess. Like I said, we have both of their information. I'm sure we do. We'll figure it out. Let's go to... Oh, hold on. Things just moved. Let's go to Arkansas. Foster, it looks like you'll get the final word today. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I was wondering about cholesterol a little bit. I'll be 49 August 23rd. I went to the doctor about 4 months ago and asked him to check all my levels because I take thyroid medicine, Synthroid, and a Prilosec. That's all I take.
So why are you taking Synthroid? Have you had part of your thyroid removed?
No, sir.
Okay, so
I was feeling bad. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was... So you just have a very probably underactive thyroid then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what was the other drug you said?
Prilosec.
Oh, so you have heartburn issues as well? So let me make a guess here. I'm gonna take what we call a WAG. I'm gonna take a wild ass guess. Let's see if I'm right. You're eating the standard American diet.
Yes.
Of course you are. And you have the standard American diseases, and that leads to the standard American drugs, which also leads to the standard American death. They're all sad. The only answer I have for you is we can fix all of these issues if you're willing to radically change your diet. But that's the only way we'll ever fix these. Otherwise, you will be on that Synthroid forever. It's making a mess of your hormones, by the way. You will be on the Prilosec forever, and that's a bigger problem than most people think because Prilosec does what? It reduces your stomach acid. So why would we want to reduce stomach acid? It's a really important thing. Stomach acid is how we get our nutrients because it breaks down our food. Stomach acid protects us from things like viruses and all kinds of other problems by killing it because the acid is so strong. And when you weaken your stomach acid like that, you open yourself up for more infections and you are not getting the nutrition you need. Not that there's much nutrition in the standard American diet anyway. So you can either stick with what you're doing, which means you'll be on these drugs for now. If you call me back in 2 years, you'll probably be on a different drug, more drugs. And at some point, you will probably become diabetic. Almost everybody does. Or you can change your diet and all of this goes away and you won't need any drugs at all. Because neither one of the drugs you're taking right now have solved anything. All they're doing is covering up symptoms and actually making the problem worse. The Prilosec is really bad for your health. And you mentioned, your doctor's doing your numbers. I'm pretty sure he recommended a statin for you, didn't
he? No, sir.
No? What was your cholesterol numbers?
No. Crestor is what he
that's a statin.
And that's I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Yeah. See, I was right. How did I know that? Because everybody eating the standard American diet will end up on a statin sooner or later. Their doctor will put them on a statin. And they're really bad for us, and they do nothing for your health. But this is the pattern. You can see it. You are on one drug, then you're on another drug. Now they're talking about a third drug. This is how it goes. You will end up being the 60-year-old that's on the standard 6 to 7 prescriptions, just like all the other 60-year-olds are. Or you can opt out of that. I've never been on a long-term prescription in my life, ever. I'm not on any right now at 60. I don't take anything. A couple supplements, but that's about it. And I'm healthier than I've ever been.
So I took it for 3 months, and I do eat the standard American diet, but I don't eat bread and I don't eat sweets, and I drink a lot of water, occasionally sweet tea.
Yeah,
the fourth month,
don't fool yourself.
Me back.
Don't fool yourself. You do eat sweets, because there's sugar in almost everything today. There's sugar in barbecue sauce. There's sugar in every condiment. There's sugar in savory foods. If you eat at restaurants, you're eating lots of nasty stuff, the seed oils. I will say I had a better version of the standard American diet than most people because I love to cook, and I love to cook from scratch. But even my version of the standard American diet made me sick, and it would have made me sicker and sicker year after year after year.
Yes, sir. But I took it for 3 months, and they did not write me another script for it because they tested me the 4th month, and it went down.
Well, guess what, though? 6 months from now, and you go back and they test again, guess what's going to happen? Statins don't fix anything. They only keep the number low when you're on them. As soon as you go off of them, your numbers will start to climb again. And someday in the future, you're going to get another blood test and your doctor's going to go, oh, we need to put you on a statin.
Okay. I also quit eating a lot of the pork and
why would you quit eating
like
pork?
That. I ate more.
Why would you quit eating pork?
Is that not what caused the cholesterol to go up?
Oh, hell no. What caused the cholesterol to go up is all the processed foods you eat and all the restaurant food. It wasn't the pork and the beef and the fat. It wasn't the eggs. It wasn't the butter. It wasn't the bacon. None of those things are bad for your cholesterol. All of those are real food. Those are all good for us. Those are the things we should be eating all day. And when we eat those things all day long, our cholesterol actually starts to get better. Not that I care. I've only checked my cholesterol once in my life. And I did it just because I kept saying, I don't even know what mine is because I don't care what it is. And of course, mine was way high. If I had a doctor, I don't even have a doctor. I did all the testing myself. If I had a doctor, they would have been screaming at me to get on a statin or I'm going to have a heart attack.
Yes.
But they're wrong. They lie. Or they just don't know. The system is so broken that our entire medical system is run by big pharma, and their whole point is to sell a lot of drugs.
Yes. Well, I didn't volunteer him to write me another script of it whenever I went back in there. So
good.
And matter of fact, my joints was hurting here a while back, and he tried to write me some kind of inflammation. I was like, no, I already take 2. I listened to this show, and if I take 2 today, in 5 years, I'm going to be taking 4 or something like that. In 5 more years, it'll even triple or something like that. He didn't write me that.
He just proved exactly what I said. Every time you go back, they try to write you another prescription for something. That's all they know. That's all they do. That's all they want to do because they make boatloads of money selling drugs.
Yes, sir. I sure appreciate what you do. I listen to you. I don't truck every day. I actually pull oversized loads.
Okay.
And I'm not out here every day.
Right.
So I was actually listening to August the 2nd whenever I called in. I got to thinking about that episode, August 2nd episode. So I do listen, but I just got to strict my diet even more.
I'm pretty sure you could do something for 7 days. If you knew it was just 7 days, you would probably be able to do it, right? Even if you thought, well, this is weird, could you try something for 7 days?
Yes, sir. I've done the meat, nuts, vegetables.
We're going to go a step further. We're going to go a step further than that now. We've moved beyond that. I remember those days where I used to say that list over and over and over, and it's a good list, but we figured out there's an even better way to get even faster results. We're going to make that list even smaller. On this list, all you're going to eat is something that came from an animal for 7 days. No plants at all. No vegetables, no nuts, no seeds, no fruits, nothing that came from a plant. For 7 days, you can eat anything you want. You can eat as much as you want, but it has to come from an animal. So it has to be meat of some kind. Sure, go ahead.
Dirty meat. I mean, dirty
Yeah, I don't
keto
care.
meat.
I don't care where you get it from.
Okay.
Buy it all at Walmart. I don't care. Yeah, I'm not worried about
7
quality
days.
now. That can come later. Right now, all we're trying to do is show the difference in your body if you go 7 days with only eating animal products. You'll be amazed at what changes.
I'm going to call you back in 7 days.
I'm looking forward to it.
I sure appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right. We will talk to you soon. We're going to wrap this up. Rolling Toe is right around the corner. And I will see you back here tomorrow morning for another hour of Free for All. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.